Welcome back to ACER Explained. So this is a series where I'm going through the ACER practice test, the new booklet that has come out. So please make sure you have your booklet in front of you so you can follow along. In this video, I'm going through Unit 2, so that's questions 4 to 7. As always, I'll be identifying prereq knowledge and reasoning skills as well as bootcamp resources. So in question 22, we're given some information about this drug that's used to treat tumors and different kinds of formats that it can take, right? So the important bits of information here are basically that this emulsion can take 3 different forms. So we have X, which is represented in this diagram here. And this is talking about macro emulsions. Then we have Y, which is represented by purple. And that is talking about nano emulsions. And I'm getting this information from that paragraph above the figure. And then Z, which is a micro emulsion. Okay, so now looking at the question, we're being asked about 2 different formulations. So we have formulation P and Q. So formulation P has 15% tioxopol. So tioxopol is down here, and 30% tioxopol. And then we're being asked which is true. P must be a microemulsion and Q must be a macroemulsion. P must be a macroemulsion and Q must be a microemulsion. They both could be microemulsions or they both could be macroemulsions. So now taking a look at our diagram here, we have tioxopol over here. And so we can trace the 15% and 30% mark. Okay, so going through the 15% mark, we're going all the way across here. And the 30% mark, we're going all the way across here. Okay, and this is in increasing levels of tioxopol here. So first of all, we're told that P must be a microemulsion. Now, is this true? Well, no, because it also overlaps with this purple region here. So it could also be a nanoemulsion. So we can eliminate this option. Then we have P must be a macroemulsion. Well, no, because it also, again, like we said, it overlaps in this Z and Y area. And so this is incorrect. Then we have both P and Q could be microemulsions. Now, this is true, right? So we have this overlapping Z region in both of these. So this could be our contender. And then both P and Q could be macroemulsions. Well, no, because they don't actually go over this yellow area here. So the answer here is C. So for this question, you didn't really need to know any prerequisite information. All you needed to know how to do was how to interpret this graph and identify the relevant information in the stimulus, as well as using the process of elimination. And so the resources that can help with this are the reasoning skills course and the acceleration classes on graphs and pattern recognition. All right, so now that we're familiar with this graph, we can easily answer this next question. So formulations with at least 40% DOCNA could only be what of the following? So first of all, let's find where DOCNA is. It's over here on this axis. And now let's figure out, so we have increasing DOCNA going this way. And so we're looking for 40%. And so that's going to be around the halfway mark. Well, around just above the halfway mark between 30 and 45, right? So if you trace this line down, then you can see that going across this way, the only thing that this could be is the yellow one, and so the X. And so X in our case is representative of macroemulsions. So formulations with at least 40% DOCNA can only be macro emotions. There's no overlap with these regions here. So the answer is B. So I won't go into this one too much because it's the same exact reasoning and resources as before. And now we have question 72, which is quite similar to the previous two questions as well. It's asking what the maximum proportion of DOC and A is that could form a micro-emotion in solution. So the micro-emotion is represented by Z. So represented by green in our scenario. And so the maximum proportion of DCO and A that could form this micro-emotion, we have to find that out, we have to look at this axis here going this way. Okay? So Z, so it can be formed from all the way from around about 0. We still have this overlapping region over Z. Still have this overlapping region over Z. Still, and then about 30 that ends. And then after 30, you don't have any more overlap with this Z region here. And so after 30, you would not be able to form any micro emotions. And so that's your maximum proportion. So the maximum proportion of DOC and A you can have in a micro emotion is 30. And this is the exact same as before as well. These three are quite similar questions. So once you kind of understood how to work your way around that graph, you would have been able to answer these questions quite easily. And that brings us to the end of this unit. So please like, share, and subscribe for more GAMSAT help. We have our Instagram at Thank Flip GAMSAT and our podcast at Thank Flip GAMSAT. Nurses doing GAMSAT if you want to hear more from us. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.